Welcome to Duo Chat with Brittany
and Cynthia, where we talk about drama shows
like Dawson's Creek, One Tree Hill, and more.
Hi everyone, I'm Brittany.
And I'm Cynthia.
And today we're talking about Season 2, Episode 19, titled I'm Wide Awake. It's Monday, it's morning. Air date May 3rd, 2005. Dang. And the synopsis is
Deb's brother Cooper visits Nathan and invites him and Lucas to the racetrack. At the day of the race, Nathan is still hurting from things with Haley, so he takes off in his race car but loses control and ends up crashing it. Then Dan outs Andy and Karen's relationship to Andy's class. So we start off with Lucas in bed, narrating as usual. And then we see Peyton in bed as well, and also Brooke and Deb. And then Dan is jogging. And Whitey is still driving with Jenny, but also looking at a picture of him and Camila in the car right after they got married. And then Nathan is in his bed with Haley, but then she disappears to match the quote Lucas was saying about an illusion. And in his sleep, Nathan reaches to where Haley used to be, but wakes up to see the side of the bed is empty. And then he walks out of the bedroom a second later to find Cooper there, who already made himself at home by helping himself to some of Nathan's beer.
Yeah, because that's the only thing he's got.
Yeah. And he's looking at the pink wall with the clown picture. He asks how much for it. He'll take the whole thing. And then he takes out money and drops them on the floor and says he'll give him $500 and whatever fell on the floor for it. So Cooper had that out of the blue line about looking better than him and calls him a little bitch. Even the actor who played Cooper thought that was weird. And then as Nathan's picking up the money from the floor, Cooper mentions that Deb had called him. And that if his big sister is calling him into the situation, it's pretty effed up.
How much older is Deb?
I don't know. I think the actor said he was about in his mid to late 30s when they filmed this, so he's maybe around the same. No, wait, Deb's younger than that.
Mm-hmm. She's like 34.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. So maybe then Cooper would be in his late 20s, maybe.
Yeah,
at least, like the oldest.
That's what I'm thinking. He's supposed to kind of like be the older, cool uncle/brother to Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where we find out that he's a race driver. And I mean, what did you think though when he was talking about Haley and he was like, "What's wrong with her? Did you marry a blind girl?" As in like, cause he, of his looks, and I'm just like, okay, like it was just weird.
Mm-hmm.
That whole thing.
Yeah, and about his gear too. So apparently he wants to change Nathan's perspective on life, marriage. And then after the theme song, we go to Lucas walking into Brooke's room. And with his body already halfway into the room, he asks if she's decent.
Mm-hmm.
And Brooke says she's dressed, but she's never been decent.
As if he's never seen her before.
Right. And he just has to stash something in his closet.
Yeah, and what was it?
The shredded up paper from Dan's home office. And then Lucas mentions he went to see Jake, and then he asks how Peyton is doing to Brooke. She says she's worried about her. He says he has been too, and Brooke asks it's just been hard to be apart from the person you care about. And then Brooke's asking what's in the bag. Lucas says he doesn't know yet. And then,
okay, so is it weird that Lucas is going with Nathan and Cooper?
No, not really.
I mean, it's the first time that Lucas is really meeting Cooper because I mean he wasn't raised with Nathan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The only thing that I find weird is it's like out of the blue, Cooper's coming to town.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because in real life, he would be around in and out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just weird, like out of the blue, it's like on every show, like, oh, all of a sudden, 5 years later, oh, here's an aunt or here's a grandparent. It's like, what? Because realistically, they would have been, throughout the years. So
right.
That's the only thing that I had a weird thing with this. And okay, and I will say, like, I know the girls talked on the Drama Queens podcast about how this episode was weird. because it was about like NASCAR. I didn't think it was weird. They're in North Carolina.
Right.
I mean, I didn't think that this was out of the blue.
I guess just because of what the show has been up until now, it's never.
I don't think that
Like
Dare
about
Night
this.
was out of the blue.
Well, it was still in Tree Hill specifically.
It was like the first time the cast really got together.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, they didn't have scenes that they were all together. So
Right. I think they're
that's
just
out
talking
of the
about.
blue.
I think they're just talking about like location wise too.
Oh, okay. But didn't Lucas and Nathan go to Charlotte to get their to watch a game and then get their test done?
Yeah, but that was still part of the ongoing plot already.
Yeah, but so's this. The wreck of the car. Like there was a reason why. Otherwise, what else was he gonna do to
Yeah, I
wreck
think.
his life?
Yeah, I think just like with Cooper just coming in like this out of nowhere, and then them going to his workplace that he's never been mentioned before about. So.
See, I just didn't think it was off because you're in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
They have like it's pretty big there.
Yeah, it's just like they were just like out of like the rest of the main character storylines for a
But
bit.
it's Nathan and Lucas. It's still their storyline. I didn't think anything was off. I was like, the three of them are I definitely am against them because I'm just like, you're in North Carolina, which is a
Mhm.
big NASCAR state, and then also like too, did they not realize season 2 is one of the worst seasons ever? And so we needed something more that's going to entertain us because I am just dragging with this season. It is so bad. I hate this season. The season I've always hated. I skip over this season because it's so bad. And at least here in this one episode, we can get something besides everyone's moodiness.
I think it's just introduction to all these new characters as well, besides for Cooper.
Yeah, but they never mention that. They only like specifically talk about like this one episode, and it's like, okay, but y'all didn't have a problem with like Felix and Anna and stuff, but you had a problem with the NASCAR.
Well, just like I said, the Felix and Anna went to their school and was part of the town for a little bit, but this just seemed like out of the bubble that Tree Hill is. So,
But I didn't think it was on bubble for the show
mm,
because Nathan and Lucas they're like sporty and stuff.
mm-hmm.
So they would do something like this. Plus, how else are you going to have Nathan be reckless?
Right.
I mean, are you going to do the same thing that every other show does?
Mm-hmm.
And do an actual car accident? We've already done that. Lucas already did that. We didn't need another one exactly like the same one. I mean,
Right.
there's only so many things you can do, but yet every other show does it. So you got to think out of the box, which I think is what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I liked it. So, I think also because I grew up having to watch NASCAR because of my dad. So I thought it was very entertaining,
Mm-hmm.
especially because the season is so bad that, I think they needed something.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, they're competing against the OC, and the OC was having drama. This show in season 2 was not. It was the same old. Because by this point, weren't you getting tired of the season?
No.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I skipped over this. So this was the only entertaining part in the episode to me was the NASCAR because I'm like, we can get out of Tree Hill, this boring show for a minute.
Mm. And then at the college in Annie's class, suddenly someone towards the back has a question, and the camera pans to Dan, and Dan says he's just auditing, and he says that he's wondering what Andy would say about a person. Let's call him Randy. Hires a PI to dig up some dirt on a competitor.
How is it Andy didn't know Dan was there?
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm like, Dan is a big guy.
Mm-hmm.
You mean to tell me you didn't see him?
Right. And then, of course, as Dan is walking out, he says he has another question.
And let's call about Randy sleeping with a student, and he said, "Let's call her Sharon."
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, Dan! But Isn't this where he walks up to Karen?
Yeah, so everyone's looking at her.
I'm like, if they weren't putting it together, they are now.
Mm-hmm. And says that Sharon's getting an A, and it seems to him that Randy is not only a hypocrite, but also a candidate for dismissal. And then Dan has to tell the class, to discuss that before he leaves. And then the next scene is back with Cooper and Lucas and Nathan at the racetrack. And, Lucas is so impressed by Cooper and what he does for a living. And Cooper mentions like the perks are fame, money, and extremely hot wives. Nathan adds ex-wives. And then they get out to the track, and Cooper says there's only one view better than this one. He points to a car that's speeding on the track
And
says
it's
that
Jeff
one.
Burton's.
And it's what?
Jeff Burton's car.
Oh, right.
It was
I don't know.
nice to see an actual NASCAR driver because,
Mhm.
Obviously these are just actors.
Yeah,
They're not actually race car drivers, so it's nice to see one.
right.
Well, it makes it more real.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you keep just having fake ones, you're like, this isn't real. It's just like if you're doing a basketball game and you only have actors and you don't actually have like an actual NBA player, you're like, whatever.
Right.
But then you see that they're like talking about like who's driving all the cars and
Mm-hmm.
everything. And then isn't this where they meet the one owner
Yeah.
and his daughter? And okay, so I do think this part was a little weird that like she grew up with Nathan. I'm like, when?
Mm-hmm.
Like never in Nathan's life have we heard he grew up with a girl.
Right.
I mean, were they trying to like make it kind of like a Lucas and Haley at this point?
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah. So, because Nathan mentions about her getting her braces off, and she says she got them out or off 4 years ago. So apparently, it's been at least that long since they saw each other.
Mm-hmm. Well, didn't she say when he got into basketball that they kind of stopped because then he was like fully into it and like she didn't really see him after that?
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably when Dan pressured him, like, oh, you're getting older, time for you to be just like me.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, when he was around Cooper and NASCAR, he was probably the nice Nathan because then Dan turned him into Dan.
Right. And then back at Dan's, Deb takes out the bottle of pills, but she was about to take one, and then she hesitates. And then
Oh, I will say it was funny because the girl's name was Daytona,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a race called Daytona 500. So that's clearly where they got it from.
Mm-hmm. And then back at the racetrack, Lucas asks Daytona how long it's been since she. Oh, yeah, like you just said, yeah. Well, she says jokingly that it was the last time. The last time was when he was shorter than her, and Nathan adds by an inch. And then at this is the point where I because I haven't seen this episode in not 9 years, but like I haven't paid attention that well since 9 years ago. Because this is the point where I recognize the actor playing Ray is Chris Potter from Heartland.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I remember watching it back then, and I was like, oh my God.
Right, because I didn't really know
That's
Heartland
cute.
first watch, so yeah.
But then I was like, I will say, I didn't like him in this.
Right, yeah.
I mean, like it's fine, but I like him with the cowboy hat and stuff. I don't want to see him on a racetrack. I think he should go be in Heartland. I don't think he should be here. I don't know. It's kind of like I think this is where they get casted, like what is it? Typecasted.
Mhm.
Because, I feel he should be on a ranch and not a racetrack. So yes, I did typecast him.
Mm.
But that's the problem when he's been doing it for what season are they in? Almost 20 years.
Mhm.
That's where I feel he should be.
Yeah. And then Tony introduces Lucas to her little brother Jarrett. And then Lucas introduces himself to Jared as Nathan's brother. So Jared acts as if his mom is Cooper's sister, meaning Deb. And Lucas explains that his mom slept with Cooper's sister's husband. So Jared says, okay, whatever that means. Sounds messed up. And Lucas says it is.
It's a small town.
Yeah.
No, they say.
Mm-hmm. And then Ray asks Lucas if he wants to jump into a car. And Nathan goes to stand next to Jared. Jared asks how the marriage is going. Nathan says not so good, and Jarrett says that sucks. And then he says Nathan is going to be divorced before he can even get a girl to date him. And then next we see Lucas in one of the race cars. It's Tony's, and Cooper walks in asking Lucas what does he think of it. Lucas thinks it's awesome. And then Cooper asks if the boys want to drive the cars. They take a
No.
crash course today and then race tomorrow. Yeah, so like they said in the drama queens too, like this is very unrealistic for anybody just to race that quickly.
Well, and two, I feel like they would have somebody in the car with them. They wouldn't just let them go on their own.
Right.
Because I do know, yes, like you can drive a car, a NASCAR, but you have to have somebody in there that's trained with you the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to just let you drive on your own like a pro.
Right.
They save that for the pros.
Mm-hmm. And then Jarrett must not be that much younger, but he still can't drive. And then at Trick, Karen is on the phone with Andy, saying Dan needs to be stopped because of the fact that he walks into his classroom and insinuate like that. She's not sure how she's going to tell Deb about the arrangement with Jules or Emily, whoever the hell she was, but now she hopes Deb destroys him.
I mean, here's the thing. How long do they think that this was going to go? Because there's been so many clues that this school that she goes to hasn't picked up on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's why I said, do they really think it's going to last? This teacher-student relationship of them date? Like, eventually they're going to get caught.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why these two thought they weren't, especially because they're getting more and more serious every day. They really thought that. I mean, the problem is they're not even sneaking around. They've never snuck around ever since they met. So eventually they're only going to get caught. And, you know, Dan's only helping the situation of them getting caught.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, you have to think too, it's becoming the end of the season. Time to wrap up their storyline. And so why not have Dan come in?
Right. And then Karen hangs up the phone with Andy when she sees Payne and Brooke walk in. And Karen asks Payne how Jake is, and Payne says the same. And Karen asks if there's anything she can do for her. Payne tells Karen she can tell Brooke she's fine. And Karen says to Payne that she's worried about her too. So her and Brooke have thought
have
they
an
should spend the
issue.
day together. Yeah.
Like, they're worried about her losing Jake.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't worried about her when she had those drugs. When she was drugged. Remember,
In
like
season 1,
Lucas,
yeah.
like Lucas and Brooke stayed with her for that episode. But then when Lucas came home and told his mom, it's not like Karen was like, oh, like we need to go check on her like the next day. Even the next episode, it was not about that. They kind of like brushed it off. And it's like, now you're worried. I don't think their priorities are in order.
Right.
You know, because you should still check on that person. I mean, even when Peyton confessed about the drugs, you know, in season 2, nobody, because Brooke was the one that knew, because didn't she tell Brooke? And Brooke never, it like went over her head. It's just weird. I just don't think their priorities are straight.
Yeah, I think the last time was when Brooke heard Rick's voicemail at Payne's house that one night, and then it was never brought up again after that. So
no, but here it is. We're gonna just keep talking about Jake being gone.
Mm-hmm.
Jake did what he had to do. He should never. The problem is Jake should never have come back. That's the whole issue. Is he shouldn't have come back, because look at the trouble he's gotten into since he's come back.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back for Peyton. No.
Right. And then Payne just wants to feel bad for a little while. But Brooke says she has to do it with them and do really fun stuff while she's being sad. And then that's when Deb walks in, and Karen asks how she's doing and calls her boozy, just like how Dan did with Keith. And Deb says she's great. She's turned over a new leaf from now on. She's looking at the bright side of things, staying positive.
It's weird. Karen has really seen her drunk. Has she?
Know. No, I don't think so.
Because I know in season 4 she gets crazy, but I didn't think in season 2 she did. I mean, Lucas was the one that saw her with the pills, but that was it. He never told his mom, and that's pills. So you wouldn't say boozy if you're taking drug or if you're taking pills. So I'm like, when has she been drunk?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, when she slept with Keith, but that was it. Other than
Mhm.
that, I didn't really think we saw her. I mean, that for Karen to say it.
Yeah.
I don't think Karen has seen her drunk. Dan did, remember when she was sleeping out on the lawn? But
Yeah.
again, that was Dan. That wasn't her.
Right. Yes. I don't know where she got that from.
And it's not like Dan and Karen are besties that it's like, I need to tell you what Deb's been doing.
Mhm.
I mean, Lucas isn't even doing that. So I don't get where she would get that from.
Right. And then Karen just straight out blurts out that to Deb that Dan had paid Jules to seduce Keith. So Deb takes a second before saying life sucks and she needs a drink and goes behind the bar and helps herself. And
See, this is where you might then say, like, hey, Boozy, because again, we haven't really seen her. We haven't really seen much of Deb lately.
mhm.
And again, when we did, it wasn't involving Karen. So this is
Right.
weird that now she's going to go to the cafe to start drinking.
Mhm. But is this the first time Deb was in Trick since it became Trick?
No. No, didn't she go to the opening?
Um Oh yeah, because Jules. Yeah, that's when she met Jules.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
yeah,
I
I
felt
can't
like
remember.
everybody went to the opening except
Right.
for
Okay.
what, Dan?
Mhm.
He doesn't go to
Yes.
anything they all go to. He just shows up.
Right. I just couldn't remember. And then back at the racetrack, Tony is teaching the boys how to drive the car while she's behind the wheel. And Jared asks Nathan if he's heard the new 50 Cent song, and Tony tells Jared the boys need to pay attention. But then Nathan talks about 50 Cent and another artist, and Tony tells Nathan that it's great. He wants to talk G Unit hip hop with her little brother, but if he makes a mistake at 160 miles an hour, it's going to be a lot more than what his heart being broken. Even though that was kind of like foreshadowing already.
So, how did you like when he said, no girl's going to outdrive me?
Right, because that's when Tony hits the gas and goes faster.
Mm-hmm.
And then back at Trick, everyone is still bummed, and Deb says she misses Nathan. Karen says she misses Keith. Payne says she
Why?
misses
Okay.
Jake.
It's not like they've been bonding all season.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's Karen and Keith. And plus, again, you're the one that kind of ruined it between you and Keith.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're kind of to blame.
Right, but she still misses him. And then Brooke says she doesn't really miss Felix or her parents at all, but she misses her money, and Payne laughs.
So here
But
we are going to the old Brooke.
yeah, but I feel like that was Hillary laughing in that moment, it seemed like, when she said that.
Okay, but that's the old Brooke.
Mm-hmm.
The new Brooke isn't supposed to, like, care.
Right. So that's when Deb, says, you know what I always do when I want to feel better, and Brooke asks to drink, and she says no, dance. So she runs over to play a CD in the DJ area, and Deb pulls Peyton to dance, and Brooke follows, and then Karen watches until Deb tells her to dance to her divorce, and Karen says she can dance to that and joins them. And then back at the track, the car is speeding. Tony is going over 120 miles per hour now. And then she goes on to talk about how being homeschooled is about getting behind on all the fashions. And every now and then she likes to catch up on the gossip and then asks if that's wrong with her. All the guys are terrified and she's just being like, no, like so nonchalant about driving so fast. And it was funny because before she was telling the guys not to talk about anything while teaching them to drive. And now here she is, talking on and on while she's going super fast in the car.
Yeah, she's just showing off.
Yeah.
I didn't
And
really
then,
care for her.
no.
I liked the scenery and everything. I just didn't care for her. I felt like there was too much of her in there.
Oh, yeah, I didn't mind her. And then Lucas tells her she might want to watch the track, and Nathan tells Tony they get the point. She doesn't need to get all crazy, and Tony says, oh, so you think this is crazy? No, but this would be. And then she suddenly drifts off the track, and the car is spinning multiple times, and she laughs while the guys are holding on for dear life. And then at Trick, the girls are still dancing. Then we see the track scene behind this one until we stick to Trick with Andy walking in. And then he tells Karen a student reported his relationship with her. He has to see the dean tonight. And then back at the track, it's nighttime now, and Lucas and Nathan walk up to Tony, who is sitting near a tent with fire and guitar in hand. And Nathan says to Tony to not tell him she lives in a tent all year round. And she says, no, it's just nice to get under the stars sometimes. Plus, Jared hates it. And then she asks the boys if they want to hear her play, and Nathan tells her to surprise them with a song.
So this was Funny. Of course, she sings "Dancing with the Stars Go Blue."
hmm
Oh my god! And then of course Nathan gets up, and she's like, "What? It's a Ryan Adams song." Yeah, well, someone else sings it. You would think
Right.
that she would know that if she's so close with Nathan.
So it's funny how they didn't confirm that this was an original song by him until now.
Yeah, they made it like this is their song.
An original.
hmm
Yeah.
And then
So.
Lucas just is like, "Oh, it's just a Haley thing." It's like, oh my god. But
Yeah.
again, he never went into detail. Like she was singing this with
Yeah.
somebody that he hates.
Right. And then Joy was talking about how she feels like Tony was supposed to be a character like to replace Haley in the show, being the tomboy and the singer and all that. I don't know. Because I couldn't really see Tony staying on the show after this.
No, I don't think she fits in.
Yeah.
Plus, she was annoying in the episode. So
And then
I just wanted like the guys. Like, why did we have to have her come in?
and then they talk about Nathan when they were younger, how he was before pre-basketball, and Tony says he was a sweet guy and a good friend. And
Yeah,
then apparently,
until like Dan came around and took him away.
yeah. And then Brooke drops Deb off at home in her DW, not I cab. So I wonder how Brooke can afford to have this separate car for her program.
Yeah,
It's not her blue buggy,
I was gonna say, is this her car or is this like
a rental.
I don't know because is this going through the school?
I don't know.
Because don't other kids drive?
So far, we've only seen her drive, so I don't know.
Because yeah, where would she get this car?
Well, no,
And
because somebody else took Nathan off at the wedding.
yeah, remember? So
Okay, now remember, yeah. So
others are driving.
then maybe it has to be the school then. I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. Sophia never mentioned that either, so I don't know. And then Brooke mentions to Deb that she's had a lot to drink, and Brooke asks Deb if she's sure she can't help her to the door. Deb says she's fine and says thanks and even hugs her, and Brooke says for Deb to say hi to her big expensive house for her. And Deb looks at her house, her buzzkill now, and just gets out of the car. And she's like looking at the house as Brooke drives away.
Yeah, so this is where she sleeps in the yard.
Yeah, because she just can't go inside.
She
And
can't
then a
make
bit, yeah. I think she just didn't want to like go in her house because it just reminds her of her marriage with Dan. Like
Why
she's kind of
didn't
like
she
trapped in the
sleep?
house.
Why didn't she sleep at Kieran's couch?
I don't know, just probably too drunk to even think about calling her or calling Brooke again.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know.
she was with them.
Yeah, I don't know.
They couldn't just take her to Karen's house
I don't know. I guess she
where
just,
Karen and Brooke can watch her and give her some water and stuff to calm her down, like from the drinking.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe Karen made plans to meet with Andy later at her house. I don't know.
Because it's just weird. They're all interested in making sure Peyton's not alone, but they're not doing the same thing for Deb.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's weird.
Yeah. And then a bit later, Brooke picks up Mouth. He gets in the back and says he's so wasted, and Brooke asks what happened. And he says he's been partying all night and drinking, but then he laughs and says, and she says she can see that. And then is about to take him home when he says no, they should drive around for a while because his parents are home. And Brooke says she understands, but she needs to take him somewhere because she can only do one ride at a time. And, Mouth just still wants to drive around. And Brooke tells him that's the rules.
I thought it was cute though, because he ended up saying that he wasn't drunk, that he just wanted to hang out. I thought it was cute.
Yeah. And she says that he's lucky that she's lonely tonight, then tells him to get in the passenger side. And he's jazzed about this, of course. And then Andy walks into his office where Karen was waiting for him. So she's not being low key either, even though their relationship has been outed.
Remember when she brought food to his office? It's like,
Mhm.
how is nobody see? Like people walk by all the time, right? Your office isn't in the dungeon. I mean, people are walking by, whether it's students or staff. Really? That's what I mean is they weren't being, because who brings their teacher food?
Right.
Nobody. Who meets up with their student right outside the school? Nobody. It's just weird. So that's what's, that's what I never understood about the relationship. Like eventually you're gonna get caught and You just did. But apparently he's got two options. End the relationship or lose his job.
Yep. So he quit.
I mean, he can. He has money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, anyone else that doesn't would probably have to end the relationship because, well, plus two, you have to think too. Even if you quit and you have to get another job, it's gonna follow you.
Right.
That's the reason why, so it might be a little harder to get a job, but for Andy, it's great. It's perfect. It's, not reality because he doesn't have to work because he has all this money.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, like, for a normal person, they'd have to find another job.
Yeah. And Karen reminds him that he loves teaching, and Andy says not as much as he loves her. And he
That
tells
was
Karen,
cute. That was cute.
yeah. So it was a no-brainer. There will be other teaching positions, but he hopes there's never another woman in his life. And then the next scene.
They pick up Erica. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. And Brooke asks her
It
what
was
happened.
weird. It was weird because she said that she was hanging out with those, like with some of the guys from Felix's party.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why? I thought Brooke
Yeah.
got her away from those people, and I thought she was learning. Remember when she was at Brooke's house?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought she kind of like sobered up and realized what she had done, and now she's continuing to do it.
Yep.
Like, what's wrong with her?
She just hasn't found something that she's passionate about, like being class president was.
Shouldn't Brooke have like offered to like have Erica help her or something to like get her away from the alcohol?
Yeah. I don't know. And then Erica is explaining how things got out of hand there. And she says there's nothing major. They were just scrappy and not what she expected. And Brooke asks if she's sure that's all it was. And Mal tells Erica he's sorry that the guys treated her that way and gives her a tissue. And Erica says she feels stupid for even calling, but she got scared and disappointed. And Mal tells Erica he's glad that she called because they were just about to get some food. And Brooke asks Erica if she's in, and she calls her Marsh, and Erica says she is, but to call her Erica. And then back at the track, Cooper tells Nathan that when his wife left, he was a mess.
Why is her name Carrie?
I don't know. I guess they just forgot they used that name later on.
No, they used the name of Dan. The girl on the beach, her name was Carrie.
Oh, I didn't remember that. I don't know.
Because I remember when it came up and I was like, oh God, it's coming up in season 5 too. And then now it's in season 2.
I don't know, but that would have been something if that actually was his wife.
The one on the beach?
Yeah, that would have been something. That would have been a good plot twist.
Yeah.
Like that was the reason why they got divorced or something like that.
Yeah.
And then the Carrie thing would have made
like
sense.
why?
Yeah,
Like,
I don't know.
why? I don't get it. Like, why do they keep renaming these people Carrie?
Mm-hmm. And then Nathan says he should have been a mess because Carrie was really hot. Now, I thought that was weird for Nathan to say about a woman who was his aunt,
I guess she was really young.
Yeah. And then Cooper
Well,
says
they make it like Cooper's the brother and not the uncle.
Nathan. Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
it's like, it's like if your brothers, like for guys, like my brother's, girlfriend is, hot, or like it doesn't come off as bad as saying your aunt is hot.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
So I think like they kind of put it as like, oh, Cooper's just like the fun big brother.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, apparently his wife was a supermodel.
But apparently, though, he wasn't going to give up racing for her, which I don't think he should.
He wasn't what?
I said he said he wasn't going to give up racing for her.
Oh, racing. Yeah.
And my thing is, he shouldn't. If that's
Mhm.
what his life and dream is, you shouldn't give it up for and plus, why would you want to be with somebody that would want you to give it up?
Mm-hmm.
If that's what you love.
Right.
I don't understand people when they're like, no, now that we're together, it's like you met that person doing that. It's one thing if it was like Nathan and Haley out of the blue, she's going to be a singer. That was weird. But if he had met her when she was singing and stuff, and then you said, oh, give it up. No.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's what I mean is his supermodel wife met him as a NASCAR driver. You can't exactly be like, you need to give that up. No, because instead I'm going to give you up.
Right. Well, we don't really know what came first. You never know.
Well, it kind of sounded like they weren't together that long.
Oh.
That's what it came off to me as. She was just sort of here and gone.
Hmm. Yeah, and then Nathan says he would have given up basketball for Haley.
Well, that's his own problem.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when he rubbed it in her face, like, I gave up high flyers for you. And it's like, no one asked. She never asked you to. That's your own problem.
Right.
You can't, just because you would do something doesn't mean somebody else would.
And then Cooper asks Nathan if that's why Haley left, because he gave up high flyers. And then asks him if when he met Haley, would he have given up basketball for her then?
Nope.
Yeah, that's what Nathan says too. Yeah. Cooper says maybe he's not the person she fell in love with anymore, and maybe she's not the person he thought she would be. And he's not saying this to hurt him, but people change.
It is true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, especially now that all of a sudden she has this chance, like that's definitely the different Haley than when he met her. Because when he met her, she wasn't singing. We all thought we didn't know she could sing.
Right.
Either did he.
Yeah, and she was like so into tutoring, you would think that she would be a teacher or something. I mean, we know she is later, but like at the time that was like her only focus. So
yeah. Or she could have done remember what Jack was doing, where he went to like that community center and was teaching the kids. It's like that would have been good too.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's the thing too, is she could have met somebody there, like at a tutoring center. I'm just saying, like, out of the blue, she's going to be a singer. Like, it's just, that storyline is a little, out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Nathan asks Cooper, what about after his wife left him? Was there a day when it felt better? And Cooper says, sure, followed by a day when it felt worse. That's just the way it goes. But he'd be amazed at how therapeutic 200 miles an hour can be. Then he tells Nathan that love is a pretty great thing, and maybe it's the greatest thing, but it's got to be true love for the both of them. And Nathan asks what if it was and still is, and Cooper says if it still is, he needs to fight like hell for it. But the harder question is, what if it wasn't?
Oh my God, it was funny because he goes, trust me, that one's a bitch.
Mm-hmm. And then Dan walks up to the doorway of his office to find Andy sitting in at his desk.
Okay, these two just keep going back and forth.
Yep. And he tells Andy he's sitting on the wrong side of the desk.
You know what I thought was funny though? Andy said, I lost my teaching position tonight. And Dan goes, really? That's terrible.
Yeah.
What happened?
Oh my God.
And I will say, like, Paul plays it so awesome because you just can't help but laugh at it.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I will say, nobody else, I feel, could have played Dan Scott like Paul. Because, I mean, there are some that probably could have played it, but they would have played it where you're like, oh my God, like, it's just so cringy. And you're like, oh my God, like, I hate this person. But he plays it like you just want to see him back on the screen to see what else he's going to do. That's how I feel he plays it. Like, you still hate him, but you just have to laugh too at the stuff that he's doing.
Right. And then, Andy asks if he believes in anything like karma, and Dan says no. And
I would think Dan would believe in karma as in everyone else. You know what I mean? Like, Dan's never going to get karma, but everybody else will. I feel like that's how Dan looks at karma.
And he threatens Andy by saying he does believe that he'll give him a chance to remove himself from his establishment before he personally removes him. And Andy gets up and tells Dan they're very different. He is a big believer in karma, and he says that he thinks it's amazing how most of the time tragedy befalls a man who just isn't living right. And Dan calls him kid and says if he's going to threaten him, at least do it like a man.
Well, I mean, he is only, 25?
Something like that, yeah. And he tells him that karma finds them all, but he finds that sometimes it helps to point it in the right direction.
What did you think when he gave him the job application?
Yeah, that was just a dig.
Oh my God.
since he's unemployed now. And Andy just walks out. And then we go to Peyton next, who's looking at a page she has in her notebook with Anna's name on it with the contact info.
Oh my God. How'd you like how she was like tearing out Anna's and Haley's and but she kept Jake's.
Yeah. And then we saw Keith's.
So does that mean like she is tearing out the people that mean nothing to her anymore? Like these are the people I'm cutting out? I mean, what is it?
I guess she just feels like it's people that left her, so there's no point in keeping those pages
But
anymore.
she kept Jake and he left her.
I guess because she's still holding on to him and has hope that he'll come back.
Or is it the people that she thinks aren't coming back?
Yeah, that's what I think.
Because it's like obviously Anna's not coming back, but it's like she tore out Keith's and then of course Haley's, and it's like, she ain't coming back.
Right. And then for some reason they are walking now, they're not in the car anymore. But yeah, the three of them, Erica, Mouth, and Brooke. And Erica says about an hour ago she wouldn't have believed it, but it all turned out to be a pretty great night. She thanks Mouth and Brooke for hanging out with her, and Brooke says they should get her home now. Erica says she'll walk, and Brooke tells her to call her if she needs anything.
And I liked how, Brooke obviously had to go because she still had her shift. But then Mouth and Erica are together still.
Yeah. Yeah, because Erica asks if he wants to walk with her, and he's, right away gonna, jump at the chance and walk with her, but then he remembers about Brooke and asks if she'll be okay, working her at shift alone. She says it's fine. And just to go get her and calls him Tiger and fixes his jacket for him. And because at first Brooke thought she was talking to her, Erica, but she was talking to Brooke, so that was funny too. And then after they walk off, Peyton calls Brooke. She asks if this is a safe rides program because she's wondering if she could pick her up. She left to feel safe for a night. And then we instantly see Brooke driving with Peyton in the passenger seat. And she leans her head on Brooke's shoulder. So I'm glad that Peyton reached out to somebody for once, because usually she just kind of, suffers alone.
And doesn't even talk about it. She just holds it all in until she explodes.
And then Erica and Mouth get to her house. She thanks Mouth for walking her home, and he thanks her for inviting him. They don't really know what to do next, so Mouth says that he'll see her. And then Erica lets him know that she loved what he said about Brooke during the campaign, even though it's the reason she lost. Mouth tells her that there's no reason to ask her out on a date. Erica confesses she was pretending this was a date, and Mouth asks if they had fun, and Erica says for him to tell her, and she kisses him. And Mouth is ecstatic from the kiss, of course, and he thinks that they had a blast, and Erica agrees and then says goodnight. So, the girls on the Drama Queen did point out that usually when a girl is harassed by the end of the night, she doesn't, kiss another boy like that, which I think is true. But this was, again, still like a sweet moment between Mouth and Erica, because this is like the beginning of the relationship that we see.
Yeah, but Mouth wasn't harassing her.
Yeah, I know. Just like she would still be kind of in the aftermath of all of it, so she really wouldn't be feeling up to like having any kind of intimacy with the guy right now.
It depends if you like the person, and clearly she likes Mouth though.
Yeah, I know.
Like if the person that you like shows up at the end of the night, you're gonna be like, oh, hey.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's different if that's the person you like, and clearly Mouth is, and Mouth is also saying all the right things that are making her forget for a moment of what happened.
Yeah, well, sometimes some girls don't want to be touched like that, even by people that they trust. So, really,
and
depends.
some
do. And then the next morning, Dan just happens to step outside with his coffee to find Deb asleep on the ground.
Okay, what did you like though when he turned on the sprinkler?
Yeah, he just did that to mess with her.
I mean, Dan, this is why they shouldn't be in the same house together. And I really don't get how Deb can sleep at night.
Right.
With him in the house.
But when he walks up to her, you can see he meant to step on the root of the flowers to make them like move to tickle her face to wake her up. But he steps on like the wrong root, so the ones closest to her still somehow tickles her face, but doesn't wake her up. I thought that was kind of funny. But he just grabs his newspaper and because it was behind her on the ground, and then he turns on the sprinkler and just goes inside the house, and that's it. He doesn't see what her reaction is to it.
Oh, no, he's probably watching from inside with his coffee.
Yeah. And then the sprinklers do take a second to wake her up, and then she does realize she's on the ground, but doesn't use much effort to get up and just stays where she is.
That's what I mean. She should have went to Kieran's to sober up.
Right. Okay, and then I just gotta grab my charger really quick. But then we go back to the track where Ray gives instructions to the drivers. It's a race between Cooper, Tony, Nathan, and Lucas. They all get in their cars. Ray announces for them to start their engines, and they do and take off. And then things are going fine until they get to the last lap. Cooper wins, so
Oh,
everyone else slows down at the
so I
side.
do, yeah, I do like how everybody else, we're going back in, and of course, there's one that decides to keep on going, and that's Nathan. And then you get all of the flashbacks of Nathan and Haley, and then there's Chris in there too, and then that's where he hits the wall, and of course, he's going way too fast.
Yep.
So yeah, it was just, of course. I mean, but you knew it was going to happen, so not like it was just sort of out of the ordinary. But
Okay.
when all this is going on, though, like Cooper just keeps his yelling. He's yelling through the headphones, for Nathan to stop. But of course, he doesn't.
Mhm. Yep.
I mean, you knew it was going to happen. I mean, he's not thinking of the track anymore, and also he's not a pro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so when Cooper tells Nathan to slow down, pull over, Nathan says he needs some of that 200-mile-an-hour therapy he was talking about.
So, okay, so when it crashes, though, and then it's on fire,
Mm-hmm.
and Lucas, of course, starts running, and then Cooper runs after him, and they pull him out. It's like, how did he not die?
Right.
But yeah, apparently he's out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he's unconscious. And then Nathan is awake now and tells Lucas to promise him something, to not call Haley. And then the next scene is where Dan walks into the kitchen where Deb is, saying that there's his wife, the lawn gnome. And then she says something. She says nothing, but he notices her bags and actually knows what he did to Keith. And then he asks what she's doing on the stove, and Deb says very casually, answers that she's boiling the water to throw on him. And then he asks what's the
That
syrup
was
for.
good.
Yeah. And she explains it's so that the water sticks to him, and then gives him a threatening look for him to die. So they go to the hospital, and they walk up to Lucas and Cooper. Deb asks where Nathan is and how he is. The doctor says Nathan has severe blunt trauma to his chest and was caused by a high-speed collision, and his right lung collapsed and has lost a lot of blood, and his blood is rare. So she has the same, so she'll donate. And then Dan tells Cooper that he better pray that Nathan will be okay. And then the next scene is with Payne at home looking at music when Whitey shows up in her doorway.
This was weird.
Yeah.
Because he's in her bedroom, not even just her house, her bedroom. And then, I mean, even Whitey said, this is not appropriate and stuff. But Jake said she wouldn't answer. And then it was weird though, because he he wanted to sit down, and she shows him the bed. It's like, yeah, that got even worse.
Yeah.
And then he even said the PTA would love this.
Yeah. And then Whitey asks Payne if she's ever been to Florida. And then he just kind of goes off. Well, she says that she's been to once with her dad. And they just kind of talk about it for a minute. And then
that's where he took Jenny.
Yeah. Yeah, so he tells her she's fine. Jake wanted her to know that. And Payne is crying happily because she knows where Jenny is now and is safe. And Payne tells Whitey that she saw Jake this morning. He told her that he didn't want her to visit him anymore. But it's too hard. And Whitey takes Payne's hand and says he can understand that and knows she misses her mom just like he misses his wife. But think about Jake. He misses both women he loves. And then back at the hospital, the doctor talks to Dan and Deb about Nathan. He's in surgery. And they were able to locate an additional supply of his blood type. And Deb asks he needed more than what she had to give. And that's when the doctor...
Where he said, yeah, how long have you been abusing drugs? And then Dan's looking like, what?
Yeah. So Joy pointed out that usually this doesn't happen in real life. Of course, a doctor wouldn't just say something like that out in the open to anybody else. They would take Deb to a private room and talk to her about it. And apparently, Hillary said that that wouldn't make her blood unusable. Just, because they wouldn't really be able to tell from painkillers that she was really even taking them. I don't know, but it didn't make sense.
Something else, though. You never know what she's really taking.
But somewhere else in the hospital, Brooke finds Lucas, she hugs him and says she's here for him. And back to Dan and Deb, he asks her how long she's been using the pills. And
it was weird because she said since she quit her job. I thought it was when Nathan moved out.
Right.
Because she told Lucas like it was because she was missing Nathan. But then she said it was because she quit her job. Well, what job, first of all? Because Karen wanted you to keep working with her. I thought they went into
Right.
business together. What is she talking about? I'm confused.
Yeah, maybe her old job that she had in season 1 that we never even really heard about her officially quitting either, so I don't know.
But I thought she loved working with Karen.
Yeah.
And I thought it was about missing Nathan, which would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was totally happy when she quit her job.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, she said, my son is more important. She was all sober then.
Mm.
It was when Nathan left. Remember, that's when she took that turn
Mm-hmm.
and started drinking. Well, not really drinking, but just sort of, remember, that's when she slept with Keith and stuff. So her marriage was going down and Nathan moved out.
Yeah, I thought it was because she found out that Nathan wasn't going to move back home after he was, things got bad with Haley, so.
Yeah, but it had nothing to do with the job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's why I'm so confused.
Mm-hmm. And Dan asks why, and she says it's because she's married to him. And then Nathan's surgery is about to start, and in the waiting area, Dan goes to see Cooper and pushes him. He tries to start a fight, but Andy interferes and tells him to calm down. And then asks how is his karma. And the actor who plays Cooper mentioned too that when they did this scene, he actually pushed Dan back originally, but the director or whoever said it was too much, so they, did a different way. But back at the racetrack, Tony mentions Nathan would have turned left. He's an athlete. His reflexes would have been to turn left, but he didn't. It was almost like he aimed for the wall, she says to Lucas.
Obviously.
Yeah, like he tried to crash. And Lucas realizes this too as he's narrating. So, yeah, I guess up until this point, they thought he really just lost control of the car by accident. But, I mean, he did, but still.
He was aiming.
And then back at the house, Brooke is going through the shredded pieces of paper that Lucas put in the closet in his room. And then Payne is parked across the street from the police station because I guess she was trying to go see Jake again. And then we go back to Nathan in the OR, and that is, his surgery is just about to start. So, yep.
So for me, my high, I did like the back and forth between Dan and Andy.
Mm-hmm.
I did like that, and I did also like seeing the NASCAR track.
Yeah.
And then, but the low, obviously I'm crashing because you shouldn't wreck your life because of somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
What about you?
Yeah, the low was Nathan's crash, and the high was just, I don't know, I liked how Brooke was basically there for everybody that night with her program with Peyton and Mouth and Erica. And then rating?
I'd rate this a 7.5. I wasn't too into it.
Mm-hmm.
Not much really truly happened in it. What
Yeah,
about you?
I say 7.
And then who's your best and worst?
Best is Brooke, like I said, because she was there for everybody, and then she started putting together the papers from the shredded pile that Lucas has to help him without, with whatever that is. She doesn't know what it's about or anything. She doesn't know anything about Dan or Andy or anything, so she's just helping him because she's like, that kind of person. And then the worst is Dan, just because he was the one that had to insert himself in the classroom and out Andy and Karen's relationship, even though, like you said, they would have got caught eventually, but he just really wanted to get back at Andy because I think he doesn't like how he's with Karen and making her happy. I guess he just wants Karen miserable. But yeah. And you?
So for me, yeah, the worst was definitely Dan.
Mm-hmm.
And so but also, okay, so I'm going to go with the best. I'm going with Lucas.
Okay.
Because if Lucas wasn't at the track, Nathan probably would have died.
Yeah, because...
And I say that because Lucas was the first one to run to Nathan to pull him out. No one else was... Cooper took a second and then followed. It wasn't like it was his first thing to run and go save his nephew. It was Lucas's first thing was to save Nathan. So I'm like, Nathan would have burned to death. And also the pros, that guy and his daughter, they also just stood there. No one was moving to go save Nathan.
Yeah, and I feel like they would have had some kind of
medics.
Well, yeah, but also like the fire hydrant, or not hydrant. I can't remember the thing.
Extinguisher.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah. I feel like they would have had that one, one of those on hand to use or something,
Because you're involving a car on track.
Yeah. So.
But I just was like, the only person that truly was there running to save him and pull him out was Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else is, Cooper took a second. Should I? Oh, I'll go run. I'm like, and then even after, Nathan or Lucas was the one that was holding Nathan through the whole thing. Cooper was somewhere else.
Right.
And then the other two were just standing there, or the other three were standing. I'm like, really? You guys are supposed to be pros. So I didn't care for that. But I was like, yeah, I mean, Nathan would be truly dead if it wasn't for Lucas.
Right.
And he would have died in one of the worst possible ways, by fire.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like, Luke, and plus Lucas is still what, 16, 17, like, and he was willing to, be the hero and die for his brother.
Right.
I thought that was nice. And it just shows you who Lucas is. But yeah, I liked Lucas in the episode.
Yeah.
Plus, he was trying to get to know the old Nathan. But talking to his so-called friend back then. So what's the next episode?
Episode 20, Lifetime Piling Up.
Interesting. All right. Thanks for listening.
Yep. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Duo Chat. If you want to chime in with your opinion about the episode and the show we discussed, you can email us at duochatpodcast@gmail.com. And to keep up with updates about the podcast, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube at Duo Chat Podcast. And give us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We would appreciate it.